Hi everyone! Today I am ranking the 5 Middle-earth books that I've read, so the Silmarillion, the Hobbit, and the 3 Lord of the Rings books. And I will be starting with my least favorite and working my way up to my favorite, and I can do this without sharing spoilers. So yay, if you haven't read these, don't worry, I'm not going to spoil anything for you. Number 5 and my least favorite is the Silmarillion. And I think the main reason I don't like the Silmarillion is because there isn't an overarching plot to it, really. It's just a bunch of Tolkien's shorter stories and world building, and there isn't a main character or a main plot. And it's also just incredibly dense. It has been 8 years since I read this book. I was going to share my thoughts about it on this channel, but I didn't feel like rereading it, and I wasn't going to force myself to reread it if I didn't want to. So maybe someday I will be ready to reread the Silmarillion, but now just wasn't the time. And it's really because that was a really dense and hard to get through book. So that's why it's at the bottom of my list, because I don't want to reread it right now. Maybe someday that'll change, maybe not. We'll see. Number 4 is The Two Towers. I don't hate this book by any means, but I also don't love it. I read through it really quickly when I finally actually read it. I originally DNF'd it because I was having such a hard time getting through it, but I was in middle school, so it could have been just my age or something that contributed to that DNF. But I finally reread it, and it only took me like a day to read most of that book. And it was okay. I really don't have much that I love about it or hate about it, and that's why it is number 4, because it was just kind of in the middle. I'm honestly a little pleasantly surprised at how quickly I got through it. 1, because I originally DNF'd it, and 2, because I am not a fan of the movie. I very rarely watched the second movie. So I was pretty surprised when I got through it as quickly as I did, and that it wasn't as terrible as I thought it was going to be. But it's still definitely my least favorite out of the trilogy. Number 3 is another from the trilogy, and that's The Return of the King. I, again, don't really love or hate this book. It's kind of in the middle. There are some things that I don't like about this book, and then there are things that I love about this book. I really love the ending and seeing all the amazing character arcs, but then I also got really bored in the beginning because it just didn't grip me, and I really wanted to read a bunch about the main plot, and there really isn't a lot of the main plot in this book. So that's why it is number 3, because the beginning wasn't super great, but the ending, the ending is so long, but like the beginning of the ending is really good. And then we get into all the other ending stuff that really just drags it out. But if you want to know more about my thoughts on The Return of the King, you can check out my other videos where I go more in depth. But those do include spoilers. So if you haven't read it and don't want to be spoiled, don't watch those videos. Number 2 is The Fellowship of the Ring. This one I can say I definitely really like this book. The beginning, again, is really slow, but most of the book is really good. So I really enjoyed this book. This is the only Lord of the Rings book that I've fully read twice. The Return of the King I've only read once, and Two Towers, like I said, I DNF'd, and then I finally went back and was able to get through it. But Fellowship of the Ring I have read twice, and that's partly why it's ranked so highly, is because I was able to get through it twice. And I never got stuck on that one. Like, that one, I never got hung up on Tolkien's writing style. It just seems to be an easier, more accessible read than the others, and it's a lot easier to get through it, which is another reason why I enjoy it so much. Plus, it's really fun meeting all the amazing characters for the first time. That's not something you get in the other books. And number 1, of course, by process of elimination, you know what this is, The Hobbit. The Hobbit is the other Middle-earth book that I have read twice, and again, I didn't have any issues reading it either time. I read The Hobbit when I was really young. I think I was like 9 when I read it, So I'm glad it was really accessible to me at that age because I wanted to read it then, and then I reread it again in college, and I really, really love The Hobbit. It definitely has its faults, but overall, I absolutely love The Hobbit. If I were to go reread any of these books right now, it would be The Hobbit because I love the story. I love Bilbo. While there aren't as many amazing characters in The Hobbit, in my opinion, most of my favorites are in The Lord of the Rings. I really love Bilbo. I really love following Bilbo. It is extremely unusual for me to like a protagonist. Most of the time I really don't like protagonists, but I really like Bilbo, and so that makes The Hobbit a really enjoyable read for me. Do you agree with the order that I ranked these in? If not, how would you rank them? Let me know in the comments down below. Next time I will be ranking the movies, so the 3 Lord of the Rings movies and the 3 Hobbit movies. So stay tuned for that on Thursday. As always, if you like this video, hit the thumbs up and subscribe buttons and ring that bell for notifications. I hope you all have an amazing day. Bye.